Ooh, fancy. Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Heather and as always I'm reading with a vengeance and I hope you are too. So yeah, bandwagon Heather here, doing the bandwagon thing, jumping on that train, doing what everybody else does. Today I'm doing the mid-year freak-out crisis tag. I don't know why they call it that. Is it a crisis? Am I freaking out? No to either one of those, but it's a fun tag. I really like the questions that they ask. I really like the things that I find out kind of about myself and my reading year so far with the questions that are asked. So I'm going to do the tag. Here I am. Is this more for me than it is for you? Probably. I still hope you enjoy it. I still hope you like the books that I talk about with this tag. Who created this tag? I really don't know. I suppose I could do a deep dive. I did look at a couple of other videos and a lot of the other booktube creators have no idea who created this tag. I don't know. Maybe they're enjoying their obscene wealth from having come up with a tag that everybody on the booktube planet does. I don't know. I'm just here to talk about books and answer questions that only book people ask and want to answer. Let's just get started. Make myself comfortable here with question number 1. How has your 2023 reading year gone so far? It's been busy, okay? It's been busy. This year I did the Women's Prize for Fiction books. I did the Booktube Prize books. You know, I set myself up for it, but I really, really like following the Women's Prize. It's something I'm gonna do every year. I haven't quite decided if I'm going to do the Booktube Prize every year. I'm in the process right now of doing the semifinals and we're in the summer and summer is when you should be reading whatever you want. I'm currently reading a book. I can't tell you right now, but one of the books I'm reading right now, it's a struggle, you guys, it's a struggle. And I struggle the most with books that I read for a certain purpose because I don't feel good enough about DNFing a book. I've gotten really, really good at DNFing books in the recent past, but when I'm reading a book as a favor, if you will, to judge a prize like the Booktube Prize, I can't really DNF it. Wow, that was a tangent. What was I talking about? Okay, so it's been a busy year. It's been a busy year. I can't complain though. I've read some really, really good books. I've discovered some really wonderful authors. And to be fair, when I do things like the Women's Prize and the Booktube Prize, I find books that I normally wouldn't pick up. So there is that. Question number 2, what is the best book you've read so far in 2023? That's really hard. I can say that the best books that I've read this year have come from the long list from the Women's Prize for Fiction. Demon Copperhead is probably going to be in my top books of the year. Memphis by Tara M. Stringfellow is also going to be in my top books of the year. Wandering Souls. So these are all Women's Prize for Fiction long list books. I loved Pod. I would say the books that were not on the Women's Prize this year that I absolutely loved: Ozark Dogs by Eli Craner, Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt, just to name a few. I just recently recorded, and I don't know if I'm going to post this video first or if I'm going to post the other one, but I do a video where I tell you the top 5 books of the quarter. And if I haven't posted it yet, my top 5 books of the second quarter of the year will be out soon. If it's already out, I'll link it down below. I talk more in depth about my favorites in those videos, but those are some of the titles that come to mind right now. I don't have a favorite of the year yet, but I'm pretty sure my favorite of the year, if I've already read it, is going to be from the Women's Prize for Fiction long list. How's that for cryptic? Question number 3, best sequel you've read so far in 2023. Well, let me just move my cup here. Not the first time, not the last I've talked about this series, the Monk and Robot series. I'm going to keep it short. If you haven't read it, what are you doing with your life? Read it. Best sequel right here. Prayer for the Crown Shy, Becky Chambers. Question number 4, a new release you haven't read yet but want to. So many. So many. I have a couple in my possession. We have The Paris Daughter by Kristen Harmel. This is an arc that I got from work. I featured this on one of the new releases that I'm excited about. This is historical fiction, takes place around World War II. Those two things put together usually make a masterpiece for me. Think Nightingale, think Beneath the Scarlet Sky. I think I'm going to love this book. Also, I have an arc of Sing Her Down, although this is already out. So is Paris Daughter by Ivy Pochada. This is a thriller, I believe, mystery thriller. I think it follows two women who are cellmates in prison, and it talks about obsession. It just sounds fascinating to me. I'm really hoping to get to this summer. And finally, a book that I don't have in my possession, but I'm super intrigued about, and that is Abraham Verghese's The Covenant of Water. Now, it's about a gazillion pages, but I loved Cutting for Stone so much. It's over 700 pages, people. I don't know. I'm definitely not going to be reading it in hardback, that's for sure. It's probably going to be 18 pounds. But I absolutely am intrigued by that one as well. Question number 5, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Without a doubt, Holly by Stephen King. This is part of the Mercedes Man trilogy. Holly was a character in the Bill Hodges trilogy, I think is what it's really called. And then she featured, and I wouldn't call it a series, it's not. They're all standalones, but she's featured in this new trilogy called the Holly Gibney trilogy. She's a very interesting character that he has written. She's just fun to read, and I'm a huge Stephen King fan. So anything that he comes out with, I'm going to read. The trilogy that I'm speaking of, the Holly Gibney trilogy, started off with The Outsider, which was fantastic. And then she was also featured in one of the stories of the collection, If It Bleeds. And then she's got her own book now coming out, and I am super excited about that. It comes out in September, I believe. Question number 6, what has been the biggest disappointment of 2023 so far? Sadly, I have a few on this list as well. I just recently read Women Talking, although I haven't done my wrap-up for June yet, so I haven't talked about it yet in a wrap-up. So I won't go too deep down that hole, but I was really expecting a lot more from Women Talking. It made me rethink whether or not I want to watch the movie, even though I love Frances McDormand. But I really, really expected so much more from Miriam Toews' Women Talking. I loved Fight Night. Now, this is an entirely different story, and it's based on true events. And those true events are quite horrific and quite fascinating. And I expected her just to go down a different route than what she did. I was terribly disappointed. I would also say Celeste Ng's Our Missing Hearts was a disappointment for me. I read that for the octafinals of the Booktube Prize, and I really expected to like that more than I did. Cursed Bread by Sophie McIntosh was on a long list for the Women's Prize for Fiction. I DNF'd that. I expected that to be a lot better than it was. I was really looking forward to that one. That one's also based on some pretty creepy true events. It just wasn't, I think it was the writing style that I just didn't really care for. Although I do want to say, going back to Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng, in its defense, I think I would have liked it a little bit more if I read the physical copy. I talked about this in my wrap-up of that book. I listened to it, and Lucy Liu narrated the book. And while I love Lucy Liu, I did not like her narration of the book. If you listen to audiobooks, you know that can make or break a book. Question number 7, biggest surprise of 2023 so far. I have talked about this before. My biggest surprise so far is Barbara Kingsolver's Demon Copperhead. As I've mentioned before, I read, in the height of its popularity, the Poisonwood Bible. I didn't like it. I found it boring. I didn't connect. And I don't know if it just wasn't a story for me, if the writing style at that time wasn't for me, or if I just wasn't ready for that story at the time. Who knows? I don't know, but I didn't like it. And I was probably one of 5 people on the planet who didn't like the Poisonwood Bible. And I would never have picked up Demon Copperhead had it not been for A, the Booktube Prize, and B, the Women's Prize for Fiction. I read it for the Booktube Prize before the long list for the Women's Prize even came out. So I had already read it, loved it, and was super thrilled. And I predicted that it was going to win, which it did. It's phenomenal. And it really took me by surprise because I was dreading it when I signed up to read books for the Booktube Prize, and that was on my list. I was dreading it. I'm like, oh, it's gonna take forever. And I ended up reading it. I want to say it was like the first one that I picked up because A, it was the longest one, and B, it was the one I was dreading the most. And it ended up being like it tied for my favorite on that list of books with Memphis. What a delicious surprise it ended up being. So yeah, one of my favorites of the year, if not my favorite of the year. Who knows? It's still early days. We'll see. But yes, biggest surprise so far. Question number 8. Favorite new author, either new to you or debut? Well, Parini Shroff. Absolutely. The author of The Bandit Queens. Also longlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction. Absolutely loved that book. 5 stars all the way. Kind of sad that it didn't make the short list, but it wasn't on my prediction or even my wish list because there were just so many that I loved. But that won't be her last time on the Women's Prize, I can assure you. I absolutely love that book. I listened to it. It was a wonderful narration, great story. It takes place in India, talks about sisterhood and women friendships and dealing with domestic abuse. A lot going on in that book, and it was just really beautifully written. A lot of humor mixed in with really dark topics, just really, really great. And I am so excited to see what Parini Shroff comes out with next. I am here for it. Question number 9, newest fictional crush. I mentioned this last year. I don't crush on fictional characters. I just don't. I don't know. Who did I say last year? I don't even remember. Who did I say last year? Last year, my fictional crush was Murderbot from Martha Wells' Murderbot series. Okay, that tracks. Because this year, if I had to pick a fictional crush, it's going to be Marcellus, the giant Pacific octopus from Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I loved him, okay? He was snarky and sarcastic, a bit of a snob, didn't like people, was crafty, was resourceful. That's my people. Fictional crush, an octopus. Don't judge me. Question number 10, what book made you cry? Pod by Laylene Paul. Now, funnily enough, this book made a lot of people cry, but not for the reason it made me cry. I'm not going to get into that. But yes, I shed a tear for Aya and Google and all the dolphins that made up Pod. I love this book. I will continue to love this book. And can I just say that Lena Norms also loved this book, and that was her favorite to win the Women's Prize for Fiction. So complete validation there, if I do say so. Okay? All you haters out there can piss the F off. Question number 11. Book you saw on TikTok and regret reading. I don't do TikTok, but I'm guessing the gist of this book is, what is a super, super hyped book that you read, fell for the hype, and regretted every minute of it? Okay, so I wouldn't say it was a book that's hyped on social media, but it's like a favorite of many, many people, and it's supposed to be a classic and whatever. But Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar, oh my God. Can I have those hours back in my life? I said what I said. Question number 12, most beautiful book you bought this year. So I don't buy a lot of books. I end up getting a lot of free books from work. I do consider myself very, very lucky, but there is one purchase that I have made that I have to say, and this might add to a theme that's going on in this video, but I love this cover. It's absolutely beautiful, and that is The Soul of an Octopus. Look at how beautiful. Stupid non-removable sticker, but look. It's by Cy Montgomery. I haven't read this yet. I keep meaning to pick it up. It's got some beautiful photographs inside as well. Octopus, after this year, might rival elephants as my favorite animal. It's subtle, understated, if you will, but beautiful nonetheless. Question number 13. What are the books you need to read by the end of the year? Okay, so I don't really think of it in terms of that. However, at the beginning of the year, I did create a list for myself. I think I did a video too. If I did, I'll link it down below. This list was 23 books to read in 2023. And the way I compiled that list was books that have been on my shelf for relatively long period of time, but books, I mean, there's lots of books that have been on my shelf for a really long time, but books that I'm really, really excited about. I mean, on paper, I'm really excited about them. Why am I not reading them? So this list of 23 in 2023, so far I've only read 3 of them. Malibu Rising, My Darkest Prayer, and 13. I won't read off the entire rest of the list to you, but I will tell you the ones that I have in my possession and have absolutely no excuse that I haven't read them yet. Greg Iles' Mississippi Blood, Leanne Moriarty's 9 Perfect Strangers, Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary, Josiah Bancroft's Send Linda Sends, oh, and Sweet Bean Paste by Durian Sukagawa. Have it right here. Why haven't I read it? I even did a video of Battle of the First Lines, and Send Linda Sends won that. And then, I don't know, the Women's Prize or the Booktube Prize, something happened and haven't gotten to it yet. So I would say those are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books that I need to read by the end of the year. Question number 14, your favorite video you've made so far in 2023. Without question, super easy, my London vlog when I went to London to the Women's Prize for Fiction Festival. For obvious reasons, I mean, it was just an amazing trip. Was it a great video? No, not necessarily, but man, did I have fun making it. I'm not a great blogger, but I wanted to make something as a memory keepsake, and I also wanted to share it with you. So it could have been better, but I absolutely loved the fact that I was in a position to make this vlog of going to the Women's Prize Festival, visiting London, meeting Gemma and Alice and Lena Norms and Simon Savage and Louise Savage and all the authors from the short list. It was just an amazing trip. So absolutely, by far, that was my favorite video to make. Question number 15, a video you thought would flop but did well. So I don't really think of it in terms like that. I don't make videos in hopes of it being a success, in hopes of it getting a bunch of views. And I hate to sound, I don't know how I'm sounding, but absolutely no shade for people who do this as their job. I do it for my enjoyment. I do it with my engagement with you. I do it for the sheer reason that I love to talk about books and I love to engage with you about books. And if I really think about it, if I think of an idea and I think, oh, that would be a flop, I probably wouldn't think of it like that. But the way I think about it is, oh, they're not going to want to see that. Then I'm not going to make the video. If it's something that I don't think that you would have any enjoyment, I can't imagine why I would enjoy making it. I don't know. In the interest of answering the question for the tag, I would say my most successful video recently was, I think, new books coming out in June. I want to say that's had the most views lately. I don't know why. I mentioned it in another video. I was super surprised just how many views it got. But I mean, who cares? If you guys are liking what I'm doing, then if it's 5 of you who watch it, that's fine by me. But to flip the question around though, the video that I thought you would really, really enjoy, but hasn't really gotten a bunch of views is my London vlog. But that's okay because I did that for me really, and maybe that's why it didn't get that many views. I don't know. Maybe because I didn't talk a whole lot about books, funnily enough. It doesn't matter. This is such a weird question. I think this question is mostly for people who kind of take a more serious approach to BookTube. Question number 16, any upcoming videos you're excited to make? Okay, so this one took a little bit of thought, but I watched a video recently that Leslie over at the Nerdy Narrative did. I think she put out a poll on Instagram or something like that where she got a bunch of her subscribers to give her the names of like really big booktubers that they watch. And Leslie looked at some of the videos that some of those big booktubers did, and she picked a book from each of those booktubers that was one of their favorites. And she did a video, like a vlog, of what she thought, how her thoughts on those books compared. And it was super, super entertaining. I mean, it wasn't a takedown of those booktubers or anything like that, because there were 2 books that she liked and 2 books that she didn't like at all. But the way she articulated on how she felt about those books versus how that particular booktuber felt about those books was just, it was very, very well done. I loved watching that video, and it kind of sparked a mild interest of kind of doing the same thing. I think that would be really, really exciting, and to read maybe a booktuber that I hold in high esteem and read their favorite books and kind of compare what I think to what they think. I think that would be just fun. I think that would be fun. Would that be something that you guys would be interested in? I might put out a poll. I don't know. I don't know. Finally, question number 17. Any channel goals before the end of the year? I want to still love doing this. That's really my only goal for this channel. That's the only goal it's ever been. That's the goal it started with, really. If I even had a goal, I don't even think I started with a goal. But if I were to have a goal for my channel, it would be that I still enjoy doing it. I still have content that you guys are interested in. That's pretty much it. Snooze, right? What can I say? So that's it. That's my mid-year freak out crisis. As far as crises go, I mean, if you're gonna have a freak out, if it's about books, it could be a whole lot worse, right? If any of these questions are something that you want to answer, or if a book popped into your mind after asking one of these questions, please feel free to share it with me down below. I'd love to know if you're having a mid-year freak out crisis. Let's freak out together. I would love to hear from you, or you can just say hi down in the doodly-doo. If you're still watching at this point, please consider giving that like button a boop, and a subscribe would be wonderful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.